So I think a really good idea for pay-per-view would be like a guy, and he's got to fight like 4 or 5 like hives of bees. And he's got $250, and he's got an hour at Home Depot, and it's no time limit. Just any percent just takes on the bees. I think that'd be a pretty good like program for people to be watching these days.
Like killer bees?
No, just regular bees.
Like regular run-of-the-mill like honeybee hives.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we could find a way to get excess bees.
Yeah, of course. You can get like aggravated hives.
This should be the Tennessee Valley Authority of Internet Content Harvesting Honey Through the Freedom of America Watching People Punch Bees Act. That's what this is.
Well, I mean, here's the thing though, right? There's like some hives are I think it actually is called being Africanized. I don't know if that's just like a term because there are like Africanized bees, or it's just like, I know I've heard from different beekeeping like videos and sources, like Africanized bees are just pissed off bees. So like 4 hives of Africanized bees is a whole different story from just like 4 regular hives.
Right.
Now they make it Africanized hives.
But they're regular hives, and they're everyday average citizens who want to spice up their life because they've got nothing else going on for them. Well, they're scared to death of the outside world, cooped up indoors because of Chinese lung herpes.
Alright, that's a whole different story. In that case, so long as the person has no prior knowledge, and they have no, like, efficiency in, like, the Home Depot, like, you throw me in a Home Depot, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So, like, I'm a perfect example of, like, you have an hour and $250 to kill beehives. Like, the smart man would probably just go and get, like, a torch, or, like, pesticides.
Maybe.
Or, like, you have to be able to make a flamethrower, right? With Home Depot supplies, you have to be able to make a flamethrower. I couldn't, but I'm sure it's possible.
You'd have to ask for the propane tank specifically, too, if they have them outside the store.
That's a good point. Are the beehives next to each other? Because I could just throw, like, a propane tank and, like, blow that bitch up.
Like Left 4 Dead 2 style? Yeah, you probably could.
I'll probably get caught in the crossfire, but, like, I'll kill them bees.
You'll have the record of taking out bees with propane tanks.
I would have succeeded in my mission of killing 4 beehives with an hour of preparation and $250.
No, okay. How were you setting off the propane tank?
It's a good question. I wouldn't know. That's why I said I'd probably get caught in the crossfire in that case.
Ah, okay.
I could probably make Molotovs though, right? They've got to have flammable chemicals at Home Depot.
Yeah.
And they've got to have like cloth. They have like. I can make Molotovs.
Well, you don't have to. You don't need anything from Home Depot to make Molotovs if you want to split hairs about it.
That's true, but I'm giving Home Depot as an option.
All right.
I can make Molotovs.
Okay, in this hour, $250 bonanza. All right,
And I can blow up bees.
you could try.
Yeah.
You'd probably have to have something like empty mason jars ready and available beforehand, just so you're not having to scramble for bottles at the very last second when push comes to shove.
You don't think Home Depot carries glass bottles?
I don't believe so.
I could probably go to some like outdoor garden section and find ceramic pots.
Really?
And use those. They'll break. They'll still they'll shatter. I just need a bottle that'll break, right? To cause the ignition to blow that shit up.
If it works, I'd like to put in an order.
Yeah, I mean ceramic pots instead of glass bottles. It's fucking Molotovs for Karen.
You are the laziest man in Queens.
I mean, I could just go and get liquor bottles, sure. I can get Everclear from like that place over by
You could probably just
Steinway that just sells that shit for no reason.
You could probably get Everclear and just stuff a rag into the bottle and call that a Molotov cocktail, and you'd be pretty well.
Yeah, it will probably blow the fuck up.
It's not. Oh man. And it's strange because it's only recently that we have to worry about like having to make Molotov cocktails.
Not we.
Well, all right, the proverbial we.
There you go.
What makes it tricky is that right now the weapons catalog of every sheriff's department that they've been like flipping through, and they finally have clearance to utilize on a public to push something from the top down, which makes it seem organic, but it's not, on an astroturfed open public discourse substitute. Like, we're in that now. That's why we're talking about Molotov cocktails.
So you're telling me that we've come full circle in this whole rioting thing, and we're in Molotov season?
In Minecraft, yeah.
Sure. That's what we're talking about.
Oh, and this started as Black Lives Matter, and now the Washington Redskins are changing their name.
It's not the point. You just tell me that we're in Molotov season. That's what I care about.
Yeah, we've been in Molotov season.
I mean, I know what's the longest running one right now? Is it Portland? Is Portland the longest running protest?
So far, I believe.
2 months almost, right?
The mayor is refusing to cooperate with the Department of Homeland Security.
That's just covering her ass.
And,
Her, right? It's her.
I believe so. And the sheriff, him, he, her, he slash, he was on board with her nonsense, and then people got jacked from the street in unmarked cars by people in tactical gear.
Well, I think we had a discussion earlier about this. At least you mentioned something to me, and I mentioned something to Cameraman, and he was astonished by the idea that maybe those federal agents are targeting people.
Well, I'd like to believe that those alleged federal agents were allegedly doing one of the following.
I like that alleged.
So, number one, they were grabbing informants out before things were going to collapse on their own eventual ineptitude and weight and faulty, not so funny comedy of errors. So they were pulling out snitches and informants. Number two, there were people who they were able to track down to the movement on the phone, that they had an open file on them for some time because they had intel and they had.
This goes back to like anti-fascist or now a domestic terror group. And if you're gonna have Facebook meetups for your domestic terror group or your protest, or if you're gonna make announcements on like Twitter, like publicly being like, "Yo guys, what's up? There's gonna be a protest here today." Like, you don't think that federal agents who are involved in trying to shut you down are just gonna show up?
The only thing more hilarious than right-wing Fed posting is left-wing Fed posting. Fun fact.
That's always funny.
Or number three. Eventually, discussion picks up, and then it ends up becoming trending, and then it gets pushed down, and then a couple people either get shadow banned or they either get search banned or search suggestion banned for discussing the same thing. So then they're sort of demoralized from continuing this discussion. And then in anywhere from like 48 to 72 hours on Twitter, they're back to being able to shitpost as if they were naturally doing earlier. And that's where we exist today. So those Molotov cocktails, maybe $250 in 1 hour in Home Depot. Come on, 4 to 5 beehives. Like, I know you'd pay $5 a month to watch that shit.
I'd like to entertain something though. Yeah, hear me out. What if, right? And like I've been tucked away for a little while, but I've caught up a little bit, and I've heard a lot about taking on these like that this country is like a fascist regime. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like this crazy fucking like, I don't know. It's like a maverick state. It's gonna try and like destroy its own civilian population, right?
More or less.
So what if, you know, the idea of like crying wolf, right? What if they cried fascist so much that when they finally actually decide to take action, now they're out there and they're fucking breaking things and tagging stuff up and whatever, the secret police came out.
The boy who cried fascist?
And now, like, not only did you call out the fascists that were not there, but your actions have forced their hand. And it's your behavior that created the monster you feared. I think wholeheartedly it's more likely that there's either the informant or the targeted, you know, like you're an ally of the opposition, so we're picking you out and taking you away. I don't believe in the whole fascist thing, but what if the very thing you sought to stop that was not there in the first place, you created by attempting to fight it? That you fought an enemy that wasn't there, and in retaliation to your fighting them, they created the enemy you were scared of.
I believe the appropriate name for that is blowback. like in the whenever the CIA meddled somewhere, and then there was unintentional consequence that sprung up from it. They called it blowback, and I believe that
Fair
is the
point.
appropriate nomenclature for that.
So do you think it could be blowback?
Oh, of course. Fun fact: the easiest example of blowback is the following. So, before Israel was America's greatest ally in the region, we really didn't have that many enemies in the region. We did have one enemy though, Iran. You see, Kermit Roosevelt and MI6 deposed of the democratically elected leader of whoever won the election in Iran, and then the Shah of Iran was put into place, and he was very pro-American and British. And the Ayatollah, he was releasing mixtapes about fuck the Shah, fuck the Shah, and it was really catchy. So he got exiled, and he continued making mixtapes, and eventually he came back. And then there was the 1979 student revolution, and some people got held hostage, and it got really ugly. And then in 1985, there was a bombing in a marine base somewhere in Beirut, Lebanon, and that was the very beginning of modern terrorism, because the Iranians were up to their eyeballs in it, even though it was Hezbollah carrying it out. So, that is blowback, ladies and gentlemen. Blowback. Look it up.